that again. Good morning. Good morning. Woo! Right on. Hey, good morning. Like I said, my name is Alex Blaza, and I work here at Pathways to Success. And we are presenting first in a series of our academically centered skill development workshops here today. What we're going to be covering is note-taking in college. And one of the things that is always important when we do this kind of work with all of our recipients is we do a workshop like this every 2 weeks. In between those workshops, we're also going to have another different kind of set of workshops. In fact, I'll let you know about what those are for next week. It's going to be a self-defense workshop, as well as a living healthy workshop. So we're going to have someone come in who talks to students about living healthy, because when we talk to students, some of the things that they talk about are like, I don't eat well, I don't exercise, I don't sleep, all these different things that really conspire to help you not be the best that you can be. So we're going to talk about that. And personal self-defense is something that's applicable to everybody. So that's going to be brought in next week by Angel, who works in the student services area also here at Pathways. Today with note-taking, we're going to talk about 3 different methods and give you opportunities to see examples of that and talk a little bit about that and the reason that note-taking and some of the other workshops that we present are important. Because what we hope to do is have you think about these workshops not as just a series of things that happen one after another, because that is what they are. But we also don't want you to compartmentalize those workshops. We want you to take maybe some information from note-taking here and apply it to time management later. We want you to take some of the concepts here and apply it to goal setting. So that is our whole idea behind these workshops. It's not to have you compartmentalize this information, but to actually take the information across different workshops and synthesize new ways of being essentially a model college student, because that's what you need to do. Things are getting tougher, things are more competitive, and those of you who are looking to transfer are going to need to walk out with a really good set of skills in order to be competitive. So that's what we're presenting to you here today, all right? Feel free to stop me at any time during the presentation if there's something that's not clear to you. And we'll go ahead and get started. And we only expect to be here about an hour. That's what I'm thinking, okay? First thing, everyone, silence your cell phones, please. And I'll try to remind you to turn your cell phones back up, because nothing's more annoying than missing an important call on a Friday when you've got like nothing to do until that phone call comes around. All right, so let's ask these questions here. Start thinking to yourself, how do you take notes now? How are the ways in which you take the notes that you take? And how do you use them? Start thinking about that. Start to ask yourself, is that really effective? Is this something that is really going to help me? Because, when we talk about, again, like I said, it's important to be taking notes. That implies you're going to class. Most of the things that are covered on a final, most of the things that are important to a professor or an instructor for you to know is covered in the class. So half the battle is just showing up to class on time. Actually, more than half the battle is showing up to class on time. That's why I'm kind of saying, like, if you think of this as sort of like a curriculum outside of the classroom, note-taking and being present and how you use these notes can give you a lot of clues to what's going to be going on in midterms, finals, as well as letting you know what's important to this professor. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So, how many of you are first year in college? First year students? A lot of you. All right. This is the reason, that we really want to get at being good note takers, okay? Because the demands of college are going to be so much more greater. How many of you also, first year folks, how many of you have jobs? Any of you guys have kids? Any of you take care of family members, younger, older, have other kinds of responsibilities? See, so the academic demands are going up, while many things are going to be going on in your lives right now. And once in a while, life is just going to happen. You're going to have an emergency come up, all right? So it's important for us to analyze how you take your notes, and each of you to analyze how you take your notes, and then how to use those things more effectively. Essentially, not wasting your time, using those notes effectively to leverage your ability and your efficiency in learning the material, okay? So for this workshop, these are the goals of our workshop here today. We're going to learn about active learning and how that connects to note-taking. We're going to have everyone do a personal assessment of their note-taking skills right now. Because it's important to kind of see where you all are at. It's not enough for me to just give a presentation. It's important for you to see where you're at so you can kind of see where you might have room for improvement when it comes to note-taking. We're going to learn about 3 different kinds of note-taking styles: Cornell, Bartusch, and Cluster. How many of you have heard of one of those, 3 of them, all of them? Okay. How many of you use those? Fantastic. Okay. That's great. And we're also going to learn about note-taking tips and strategies. And also strategies for active learning. Because one of the things that's important too, when you go to a lecture, you don't want to take notes every single word that a professor or an instructor is saying. You need to be able to pick out things that are important. And of course, then you want to kind of listen for key words. Or if a professor moves very quickly, be able to put shorthand notes so that you won't fall behind instead of writing therefore, in conclusion. You know, there are shortcuts to make note-taking kind of easy and provide some of those things as examples for you. So hopefully that's stuff you can walk away from with this workshop today. So I think I've given you a little bit of reason behind why note-taking is important. So let's go ahead and skip that. But here it is. Most test materials, as I had said to you, most test material in your classes are going to come from your in-class lectures, okay? And the notes that you take are going to be vitally important to understanding that. I've seen this in some different schools. Well, I was a UC student. And at UCSD, one of the things that they did was give you the syllabus. You had to fork over the money for the books. And essentially, you were responsible for maybe 2 or 3 things. A final, maybe 1 midterm, maybe a second midterm. That was your grade right there. And they didn't really care if you attended class or not, because sometimes these lecture halls were filled with 400, 500 people for something like organic chemistry, all right? So what did that mean? If people were like, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to take the good notes and things like that, or there are some folks who are like, you know what, I'm just going to blow off this class. Guess what? If you blow off the class, or someone else did, and the professor kind of sensed that, he or she might kind of say, for those of you who are in the class who show up and are committed to come into this class, I'm going to tell you what's on the final. I'm going to tell you what's on the midterm. I'm going to tell you what's important. So again, half the battle is how you take the notes. The other half is basically showing up. Okay? Matthew.
The PowerPoints on Blackboard?
The PowerPoints on Blackboard?
Are not the same as the PowerPoint that's being instructed during the lecture.
That's...
There's key terms that are highlighted in pink or whatever color the professor chooses. So if you think you can just download it off of Blackboard and study it on your own and not show up in class,
that's a big mistake.
There's going to be definitions and learning objectives on the Blackboard in class during lecture that are not on the one you downloaded.
That is a very good point. Did everyone hear what Matthew said? That sometimes there's a mismatch between what's covered in class versus what's actually posted on Blackboard. So in essence, you're missing out on a lot of stuff just by not showing up, right?
And everything highlighted in the colors that they choose
is
what's actually going to be on the exam.
There you go.
So that's the strategy.
That's the strategy. Half of it is showing up. Really, it really is. Okay? Thank you for bringing up that point. So let me tell you, are you like this when you take notes? Okay? Do your notes kind of look like this? You know, this looks like chemistry. This looks like, you know, like a action potential or some other crap. I don't know. Oh, this is something across time with potential. And, you know, this used to be how I used to take notes. You know? Yeah, this is definitely OChem. Look at that. That's chemistry. That's brutal, right? At least she's not like drooling yet, right? But I've been here. So are you like this? Or are you like this pathway student? Right? Are you like her? Attentive, scholarly, okay? Do you take notes like this, okay, in this particular method? This is you, okay? Just put across her head, you is me, all right? This is where we want to be. This is funny, this is not, okay? But this is going to help you get good grades, all right? So let's assume this. We have to make some assumptions because we can't cover everything. Here's my assumption. As I had said, you attend class and you're punctual. You use the syllabus. Guess what? The syllabus is basically your cheat sheet. Here's what you need to read. Here's the final. I'm not going to be all tricky on you. I'm telling you what you need to know, all right? You bring textbooks and other supplies to class. You do the assignments. I'm assuming all of this. You anticipate the next lesson. This is a little bit about how you prepare you always walk into class prepared for essentially a pop quiz. How well do you know the material that was just covered, and can you walk in believing that you're going to have a pop quiz come up? That's how you come out prepared, all right? You review stuff from the previous day, and then you also preview stuff and review stuff for the next. So you can kind of anticipate and maybe ask some of the intelligent questions. Like Matthew, if you're one of those folks that say, you know what I saw in the Blackboard presentation was this, but what you're presenting to me in class is this, that sounds to me like you're already scoping out all materials and coming to class ready. Does that make sense? So think about that. There's a lot of stuff that's available. So these are our assumptions. I'm also going to assume that you are an active listener, okay? Or at least that you want to be. And so how is it that you pick out things like, maybe some of the stuff that I'm telling you might not be terribly applicable. I hope it is, all right? But how do you pick out in the course of a 1-hour lecture, an hour-and-a-half lecture, what's important?